Hey, so tonight we're going to ease into something a little romantic, but in a way that might make you really, really grateful for texting, bad Tinder dates, and even awkward small talk. We're talking about dating in the Victorian era, and trust me, if you think modern romance is confusing, you've seen nothing yet. This was an age when a glance could be scandalous, when flirtation required an instruction manual, and when your entire future could depend on the angle of a gentleman's bow. So, before we get into corsets and courtship, do me a favor, hit like, maybe subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what time it is where you are. I still can't get over how many of you are dozing off to history from all over the world. All right, deep breath. Let the tension in your shoulders melt a little. Sink into whatever you're lying on. We're stepping back to London, 1858, to a parlor warmed by a coal fire and a world ruled by etiquette and expectations. You've just woken up. It's morning in your small but respectable home just off Fleet Street, and you're 21 years old and unmarried woman, which means, in your mother's eyes, you're officially on the market. You blink against the pale morning light filtering through the lace curtains. The house smells faintly of coal smoke, lavender water, and the boiled linen your housemaid pressed yesterday. Somewhere downstairs, the maid is already sweeping cinders from the hearth. And you're expected to make a good impression today. There's a visitor coming. Not just any visitor, a gentleman, Mr. Edwin Cartwright, your aunt's neighbor's nephew, recently returned from working as a clerk in Yorkshire, unmarried, well-mannered, rumored to be fond of poetry and walking sticks carved with animal heads. You're not quite sure whether you're curious, dreading it, or somewhere in between, but your mother is very sure. This morning you'll be dressed, posed, and presented like a tea tray with a sprig of parsley on top. You sit up, the chill of the room immediately biting through your linen nightgown. The coals in your fireplace have long gone out. No central heating that's decades away. Your feet touch the cold wooden floor and you shiver. The door creaks open. It's Agnes, your maid. She carries a scuttle of coal and a determined look on her face. "Morning, miss," she says softly, and you nod. She kneels to relight the fire. Within moments, small orange flames flicker and crackle in the grate. Warmth slowly begins to push back the cold. "Your mother says to dress nicely," Agnes adds without looking up, "and she sent the blue dress for pressing." Ah, the blue dress. High neckline, lace cuffs, 13 tiny buttons down the front, and a corset underneath that makes breathing something of a polite suggestion. Your day has officially begun. Fast forward half an hour, and you're halfway dressed. The chemise goes on first, a simple cotton shift, white and plain. Then the corset, boned with whalebone or steel, cinched tight around your waist by Agnes, with a strength that could probably lift a horse cart. Each tug compresses your ribs just a bit more. By the end, you're standing ramrod straight, shoulders back, lungs half functional. Fashion waits for no diaphragm. Then come the petticoats. Multiple. A pad for the bustle. Stockings, garters, gloves. The blue dress is fastened over it all like the final wrapping on an elaborate present. Agnes pins your hair parted in the center, curled at the sides, smoothed into a low bun. You check the mirror. The face looking back is calm, pale, and composed. You barely recognize her. But that's the point. In Victorian dating, you're not presenting yourself so much as your resume. Your family's reputation, your education, your stitching skills, your prospects as a future wife and mother. And that resume begins with flawless posture and a politely vacant smile. Downstairs, your mother arranges the parlor like it's the scene of a play. Tea, things gleaming. Shortbread on the good china. Floral arrangement angled just so. You've been told exactly where to sit. Near the window, best light. Not too close to the fire. Flushed cheeks are unladylike. Not too far either. Shivering implies weak constitution. At 3 o'clock precisely, the knock comes. The knock echoes through the hallway like a starter pistol, even though everyone in the house has been expecting it all day. You hold your breath. Not from nerves, though those are definitely there, but because your corset has left you very little room for breathing in the first place. Your father opens the front door. Muted greetings, the creak of boots on polished floorboards, the low murmur of men's voices, one you know, your father's, and one you don't. His. Mr. Edwin Cartwright is announced formally by your father, who then steps aside to allow him into the parlor. You rise gracefully from the settee, folding your gloved hands, just as rehearsed. He enters. Taller than expected, dark coat, light cravat, a bit of travel dust still clinging to his boots. His hair is neat, parted down the middle. His posture is excellent, and his bow low, respectful, but not theatrical, is textbook. Miss Eleanor, he says with a soft northern accent that surprises you. An honor. You curtsy, just a slight dip, not too deep. You're not a servant, but deep enough to show respect. Mr. Cartwright, you reply. Your mother gestures toward the chairs. He takes the one across from you, while she settles back into hers like a silent referee. The ritual begins. Small talk. Weather. The journey. Did the horses behave? Did he have much dust on the road? Did he find the street easily? You answer politely. He responds with interest. There's a rhythm to it, like waltzing with words. He asks if you read novels. You pause. This is a trap. Novels are still morally suspicious in many circles, but you hedge cleverly. I do prefer poetry, Mr. Cartwright, though I find some novels instructive. In character. He smiles at that, not a grin, a gentlemanly smile. The kind you'd find engraved on a cameo. Your mother sips her tea and says nothing, but you can feel her approval radiating like heat from the fireplace. You study him, discreetly. He has kind eyes, not especially handsome, but clean-shaven, tidy. He speaks without hesitation, but not without thought. When the maid enters with fresh tea, he rises slightly from his seat, etiquette demands it, and thanks her sincerely. You notice she flushes, just a little, not out of flirtation, but from surprise. Not everyone sees the help. Another checkmark in his favor. The conversation shifts to music, then to books. You mention your piano. He asks about your favorite composers. He listens. He doesn't interrupt. But most importantly, he never touches you. Not even when he reaches to pass you the sugar bowl. He holds it out steadily, waits for you to take it, then releases. No fingers brush, no hands linger. Which is, of course, exactly how it must be. You've been in the parlor for nearly an hour when your father clears his throat. He and Mr. Cartwright's uncle are due to discuss business. They rise, exchange nods, and step into the study. The parlor suddenly feels quieter, dimmer. Your mother leans over, and gives your gloved hand a light squeeze. Lovely, she whispers. Not a single misstep. You allow yourself the smallest exhale of relief. Later, when the guests are gone and your family is gathered for the evening meal, your mother speaks first. Well, she says, spooning potatoes onto her plate, he's not unpleasant. From her, that's a rave review. Your father simply nods. Good manners, steady hand. He'll do. You don't say much. Because honestly, you're still thinking about the way he adjusted his cravat before sitting down, the way he waited for you to speak before answering, the way he didn't once glance at your neckline, despite it being considered the most risque part of your entire body. Maybe he's a little dull, but in a world where one wrong look can tarnish your name, dull is safe. You retreat to your bedroom, where Agnes is waiting with the coal bucket and a cup of warm milk. As she unlaces your corset, your ribs expand gratefully. Your body sags with a kind of exhaustion that has less to do with the hour and more to do with holding yourself still for hours, both literally and emotionally. Seemed like a decent fellow, Agnes offers, folding your gloves. He did, you murmur, sliding into your nightgown. I suppose he'll call again. Probably, she replies, smoothing the sheets, and if not, another one will. You settle under the quilt. The fire is low, the air is quiet. Outside, a horse clops down the cobblestone street. Faint, rhythmic, soothing. Victorian dating was a performance. A game with rules you had to memorize. One mistake, one inappropriate laugh, one finger held too long and everything could unravel. No swiping, no emojis, no unsent messages, just eye contact, posture, conversation, and hope. But somehow, it still mattered. The nervous flutter, the unspoken possibility. You breathe out slowly. A smile tugs at the corner of your mouth. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. Morning arrives with a pale gray light, the kind that barely filters through the lace curtains, casting soft patterns on the wooden floor. You open your eyes slowly, still wrapped in the warmth of thick blankets and the memory of yesterday's visit. The house is quiet, but already awake. You hear the soft clatter of pans in the kitchen and the low hum of conversation somewhere downstairs, probably Cook and Agnes, gossiping before the household properly stirs. For a moment, you stay still. Not because you're tired, but because you're thinking, wondering, replaying each moment of the parlor visit like scenes from a play you're not sure you auditioned for. Did you smile too much? Did your voice shake when you asked about India? Did he notice your gloves were slightly frayed at the wrist? But more than anything, you wonder what he's thinking this morning. Because in the Victorian courtship dance, silence says just as much as words. Agnes enters a few minutes later, knocking politely before letting herself in. She brings with her a fresh bucket of coal, a pitcher of lukewarm water, and your breakfast: toast, porridge, and strong tea. Morning, miss, she says, carefully placing the tray on the small table by the window. Your mother says there's a letter. That gets your attention. You sit up straighter, the quilt falling to your lap. A letter? Agnes nods, hiding a smile. From Mr. Cartwright, hand-delivered by his manservant this morning. Your pulse quickens. Letters are not casual in this world. They are statements of intent. Written proof that a man is interested and respectable enough to commit his thoughts to paper. And the fact that it was hand-delivered? That means it was urgent. or at least important enough not to wait for the regular post. By the time you've finished breakfast and made yourself presentable, just a simple day dress this time. No corset. Mercifully, your mother is waiting in the sitting room with the sealed envelope in her lap. She hands it over wordlessly, her expression unreadable. You break the seal. The handwriting is neat, deliberate, slanted just enough to suggest an education, but not so ornate as to appear showy. It begins with a formal address and a respectful tone, but as you read, you feel a warmth hidden between the lines. He thanks you for the previous day. He says he found your conversation both pleasant and thought-provoking. He mentions your remarks on poetry Byron, specifically, and wonders if you've read Childe Harold's Pilgrimage. He compliments your piano playing, though he admits to being hopeless with music himself. And then, the final line. With your father's permission, I should be honored to call again this Friday at 3 o'clock. Your heart gives a soft, surprised flutter. You fold the letter carefully, set it in your lap, and glance at your mother. She doesn't speak, just sips her tea, but she's smiling into the cup. Permission will be granted. That much is obvious. The next few days pass in a blur of small preparations and cautious optimism. You walk to the dressmaker's for a small adjustment to your cream-colored visiting gown. You reread a volume of Byron, just in case he brings it up again. You spend extra time practicing the piano, refining that particular Chopin nocturne that seemed to catch his attention. Agnes brushes and sets your hair each morning, and you swear she's humming more often than usual. Cook bakes lemon cakes your favorite without being asked. The house feels like it's waiting. And on Friday, at precisely 3 o'clock, he returns. The second visit is less awkward. The formalities have been established. There's more smiling, a little more ease in the conversation. Even your father seems more relaxed, though he still watches like a hawk from behind his newspaper. This time, you talk about books, not just poetry, but novels. He confesses to enjoying Dickens, though he claims to read slowly. You mention Jane Eyre and watch his eyebrows rise slightly. He doesn't say anything disparaging, which in 1855 is practically a compliment. He tells you a story about a street performer he saw on his way there, a woman balancing spoons on her nose outside a bakery. You laugh, and for a moment the whole room seems to lighten. There's a moment, just one, when his eyes linger on yours, a beat too long. And that's when it hits you. You're not just performing anymore. You might actually like him. That night, as you undress and Agnes brushes out your hair, you sit quietly. I think I could talk to him for hours, you admit, almost to yourself. Agnes smiles at your reflection in the mirror. That's a good start, miss. You nod. It is a good start. And in the world of Victorian courtship, where you're never alone, never unobserved, never truly free to be completely yourself, a good start might be the most hopeful thing of all. So now you know Victorian dating wasn't just awkward glances and lace gloves. It was strategy, theater, a dance performed under the watchful gaze of family, society, and etiquette books with way too many rules. And yet, somehow, people still found each other, fell in love, built lives, even with corsets too tight to breathe and parlor visits that felt more like interviews than romance. There were butterflies, smiles, sparks that managed to slip between the cracks of all that formality. So, as you settle deeper into your blankets tonight, Maybe give a little thanks for modern dating, awkward apps and all. At least you don't need a chaperone just to hold someone's hand. Thanks for spending your evening here with me. If you enjoyed this little trip into the past, give it a like or subscribe. And I'd love to know where you're listening from. It always amazes me to hear your stories from all over the world. Sleep well, and I'll see you next time in another strange, beautiful corner of history. Good night.